Gaza ending.
That is so true. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod TV's World Politics, March 18th, 2025, where we will be discussing some of the current events that are happening today. Putin's call with Trump, then we have ceasefires, and of course, we are awaiting two castaways that have been stranded in space by SpaceX, actually. So, all right, let's get started tonight, guys. How are you doing, Sasha?
Thank you. So I was following the all information about the phone call between Putin and Trump. It was complete failure on part of Trump because essentially what Trump, U.S. and Ukraine offered as immediate ceasefire for 30 days and then work out all the proposals for a long-lasting peace. That was rejected by Putin. Instead, he offered that he will stop attacks against Ukrainian infrastructure, and that would suppose Ukraine should agree and do the same. But this is not an equal exchange because the Putin's attacks on infrastructure doesn't do much good to Russia. Okay, they inflict some damage, some lives are being lost here and there. That's awful. But Ukrainian attacks are much more focused, and they are destroying all the oil refineries in Russia, and they're doing a substantial damage, especially now that Ukraine has tested a new drone which can travel on a distance of up to 3,000 kilometers. Nobody ever had such a drone. Ukraine has now. So I don't know even if Ukraine should agree to that. I really have no idea what Ukraine, how it will react, whatever. But the main thing is that the fights on the front lines, they don't stop. So there will be continuing fighting. More and more people will be killed. And so I really don't understand I think they're wasting time. They're what I called, they're doing, especially what Trump is doing, it's a so-called Geschäft politics. So what he's doing is telling Putin about great infrastructure project that develop Arctic's oil fields and building some incredible new businesses together with Putin, and he wants to take over control of the Gazprom and get Russian gas to Europe. So essentially, I don't understand. Europe is fighting against Russian gas, and they already have ways to diversify. And one of the countries which supplying liquid gas to Europe is the United States. So now the United States wants to terminate delivery of its liquefied gas to Europe and replace it with Russian gas, which is under sanctions, says the least. And I don't accept that it's a Geschäft politics. I don't know how else to call what's Trump doing there.
Yeah, didn't Putin also make Trump wait an hour? He showed up an hour late to the phone
call. Did you
call.
see that? What's the news on that, guys? Yeah.
He was in another meeting, and they told the people at the meeting, say, hey, you got to leave the meeting to get to Trump. And he's like, I don't have to.
I think it's his slap in the face because Trump was prancing around saying, I can get Putin to do anything I want him to do. And I think
his advisor Witkoff was waiting for 8 hours. So if Trump himself waited only for 1 hour, so Putin was very polite and he did a fantastic job with Trump. He's making clown of Trump, and it's not too complicated because
it's not hard to do.
It's not hard to do.
All right, I have a question for you, Sasha. So yes. The ceasefire, in between Gaza and Israel is over. Israel's bombarding again. So I just looked up the numbers. There are 59 hostages left, having been kidnapped by Hamas. 34 of them are dead. That leaves possibly 25 hostages alive. But my question for you is, Israel's still bombing the heck out of Hamas. Is Hamas, do they have, after 15, 16 months of this, do they have any capability left to attack Israel? Or Israel's a big modern war machine with a lot of troops and a lot of arms. How can Hamas even keep fighting?
That's a good question. Don't forget that Israel didn't destroy Hamas capabilities in one day, not even in 1 month. It was a slow, gradual process. And if you take it now, if Hamas still continues to fight, so they have means, either they recruited more people and they get arms supply from somewhere, from either Iran or somewhere else. But the most important thing is that they don't release the hostages. It's now a year and a half. Even those who are still alive, you're talking about what, 35 people?
20, they say 25 are left alive. 59, 34 are dead.
25. Okay, so you'll wait another 3 years. It will be diminished to maybe 10 alive, okay? And wait another 5 years, there will be 2, maybe 1 alive. And so you have to wait so many years until all of them will be dead, and only then attack whatever is left of Hamas. I mean, what's the right way of playing it?
So, I mean, some hostages have returned home. Am I right? I mean,
some alive and some dead. Yeah.
Right. I mean, unfortunately, this is horrible. No matter how you look at it, I don't think any lives should be kidnapped and held for whatever purpose anyone wants. But I mean, what can stop it? And if you attack them, then the hostages get killed, right?
I have a hard time.
They'll die anyway. Let's face it. They are there already for a year and a half. So another year and a half, 3 years. How many will stay alive? Well, they're not living in 5 stars all inclusive.
No, they're not.
Okay.
I just don't understand what Hamas can still do in terms of they can't invade Israel at this point. Israel, can they? Much of Israel is surrounded by a 30-foot, concrete barrier.
So they are there just to keep these hostages while some of them are alive, and just show their strength, at least the moral strength, that's what they wanted, that's what they are doing, and nobody in the world can do anything about it. So go to do the demonstration, go to whatever you want to do. It's not going to help you. Okay, so Israel has choice. Wait another 3, 4, 5 years until all of them will die, and then strike whatever is left of Hamas, or do it now.
Trump has talked about attacking Hamas and Hezbollah and other things. He's actually said that even with the Yemen Houthis and a number of other folks as well. Just really quickly coming back to Europe and everything, because I did see something in the news that was interesting, and it comes back to this notion of war and war efforts and everything, because apparently, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Sasha, several NATO members have said earlier today that they are abandoning the 1997 Ottawa Convention Treaty, which outlawed the use of anti-personnel landmines amid the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia said that they are going to not abide by that because the Ottawa Convention sought to outlaw these weapons which target humans in explosive blasts and have killed thousands of civilians. The treaty also notes that the mines can cause unnecessary suffering or superfluous injury and everything. But it looks like because of the conflict that those countries that are nearby are worried about that. So they're like, no, we're going to go ahead and maintain our safety with these kind of landmines. So what's your take on this? And is this a good move by the NATO members?
I think it's an obvious move because look at what's happened to Ukraine. They just went through. They almost got their victory in 3 days, Fortunately, it didn't happen. So the countries, well, Poland is okay. Poland can fight Russia just as fiercely, if even not more than Ukraine. Now, Baltic states, they're just two small countries. I'm going to visit at least one or two of them in my next trip to Europe, but they're small. Estonia is 1.5 million people. Latvia, probably slightly over 2 million. Lithuania is slightly bigger. But again, they will not be able to withstand Russian attack unless they will prepare the minefields, as they will prepare everything what's possible and impossible to deal with the Russian attack. So they're obviously right.
Just coming back.
I have a topic we're going to talk about on Naked at Night tonight, but we can talk about it now. There are studies out that show that people are getting stupider, that humanity reached peak smartness maybe 20 years ago, and since then, various things have made us dumber. Social media, maybe certain kinds of TV, and COVID messes with your brain.
Hey, Rick, along those lines, isn't part of the problem with social media that you can pretty much say what you want to on social media and then folks will agree to it and everything? Because earlier y'all were talking, I was listening because I had some problems with my computer and everything about this ceasefire and everything. And apparently on True Social, Trump earlier today said, we agreed to an immediate ceasefire on all energy and infrastructure with an understanding that we will be working quickly to have a complete ceasefire and ultimately an end to this very horrible war between Russia and Ukraine. So apparently, according to him, he's saying that it was a successful idea, even though folks are saying that Putin rejected the proposal, as you said earlier, according to the Kremlin's readout of the call. But apparently this notion is that Trump is trying to put out a positive spin to it on his own social media. So a lot of what's going on even in terms of our stupidity is a lot of times people are listening to their own what they call them, silos, their own silos.
Plus, it's the volume of the messaging.
Right.
If you send out 100 messages from Trump and his supporters that the ceasefire is working, and then there's only one message from, I don't know, some reporter that says it's not, you're going to believe the 100, or you won't even see the one buried among the 100.
Right.
Well, the problem is that both sides, Putin and Trump, they were supposed to make some kind of a news conference where they would announce what was achieved during that telephone call. There was nothing at all. Trump is saying that it was positive, it was successful. So what was successful? That his own proposal, together with Ukrainians who approved this proposal without any addition, changes or requests or anything. So the same was expected of Russia, to agree to 30 days ceasefire. That's all what there is to it. And during the 30 days, to work out the terms of permanent ceasefire and peace agreement, or whatever it might be. Or maybe it will not work after all. But at least 30 days, there is a chance. Now, Putin rejected that, so he wants to continue to fight. He hopes that in the 30 days or whatever time there is, he will grab even more territory. So then he will say, okay, this is where we are. This is all ours. So he might as well renew attacks probably on Kiev, and I will not rule attacks on Odessa. And other cities, just to try to grab as much as he can. Maybe Ukrainians in time, maybe they will kick out Russians out of Odessa and other cities. But if it's a stopwatch and it stops at 30 days and Putin says, okay, Trump, I got it all what I wanted. Okay, let's make a peace now.
Well, I mean, apparently one of the things that he's saying that he wants Putin is that he's laying down some steep demands for broader peace talks, such as the complete cessation of foreign military assistance. So that's not just foreign military assistance from us, but also Europe and anybody else that's helping Ukraine. And
Europe is not part of the negotiations. How he can demand anything from Europe? Right. Europe on Thursday is calling, it's already arranged. There will be a meeting of chief of staffs of 30 European countries which agree fight for Ukraine against Russia. So Europe means business. Europe is offering Ukraine now 40 billion euros to sustain Ukraine this year, provide the weapons and ammunition and training and all kind of help. So, Trump is, because Europe is now enemy number one for Trump. There is no further enemy than Europe, because Europe is very wealthy, it's self-sustaining, it doesn't need United States for anything. In fact, when the United States wants to start their tariffs against Europe on April 2nd, Europe starts its action on April 1st. So welcome to the club. The Canada is all 100% on the side of Europe, same as Japan and South Korea. So Trump has a lot of things in his.
Yeah, and Europe's not going to stop giving information either, because that's one of the other things that apparently Putin was asking, was for Europe to stop giving intelligence information to Kyiv and everything. And I can't see Europe doing that. And I think that the U.S. will continue giving information to Ukraine and Kyiv. So it looks like he's got some very unrealistic goals that he is putting out there and everything, but that's just
here's the game plan. Okay, Ukraine agreed to everything what Trump wanted. He put proposal, Ukraine says yes, 100% done deal. Russia, nothing. They want to go into a long game. How about this? And then the nuclear station in Zaporozhye, we have to talk about this. Then we have to talk about which countries will supply the peacekeepers. It should not be NATO countries. No, it should be some other countries. Which countries is that? Well, Pakistan, India, well, maybe a couple of other countries. So they are playing Trump like a baby. He is a fool going into negotiations with Putin. He doesn't understand what they're talking about. He has no clue what is there to do.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it looks like both leaders, both Putin and Trump, are expressing optimism about potential economic cooperation between the countries if peace is achieved, because there's this notion that there could be a World War III, and the World War III would come out of that conflict and everything along those lines. So I guess that they're trying to play toward that kind of what Rick was talking about people being maybe more stupider than they used to be and everything. This notion that if they get along, that there will be like the two bullies in a schoolyard that are now friends and everything. So they're agreeing that this has a huge upside, and this is from both of the leaders. So the two of the leaders agreed that a future with an improved bilateral relationship between the United States and Russia has a huge upside. This includes enormous economic deals with geopolitical stability when peace has been achieved, the U.S. readout said, and the Russian summary of the call noted mutual interest in normalizing bilateral relationships. So I guess both sides.
I would like to remind everybody the movie, I said, I think on earlier programs, the movie is Gold. The Gold of my Ukrainian show, I said about this project between Putin and Trump, all these economic developments, the Arctic oil developments and so on. I reminded them the movie Gold, Matthew McConaughey played the lead role. Remember, it's based on a true story. It's the ending is completely different from a true story, but still. So Matthew McConaughey he's a prospector, some kind of a entrepreneur who is convincing his backers, the investors, and everybody else that there are incredible gold deposits in Indonesia, and they all become super rich, and they will be having so much gold that it's impossible even to imagine. The company went on the stock market, listing got, and so on. Finally, in a true story, actually, is a geologist who went. As a big company, Barrick Gold, was interested to buy this deposit. So the geologist who prepared all these reports, they went on a helicopter ride to this property, and he was thrown from the helicopter and just died, because obviously all that was a scam, and there was no gold whatsoever, nothing. So it's the same thing. These two entrepreneurs, so-called Trump and Putin. Putin is a simple murderer, and Trump is a con man with several bankruptcies and impeachments and convicted felon. So these two people are playing a game which was described in the movie Gold. Okay, so that's what's going on.
All right, here's a news story The Trump administration has terminated a U.S.-funded initiative that documents Russian war crimes, including a database detailing mass deportation of Ukrainian children to Russia. That is, Russia kidnaps Ukrainian kids and then gives the kids to Russian families to raise. And we were helping Ukraine keep track of this stuff, but no, DOJ has decided we're not going to help Ukraine keep track of Russian war crimes anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that go just get rid of it and all along those lines. Hey, Sasha, just really quickly along those same lines, there is another part of the world.
Well, hold on, let me just give you one more thing. We're talking about 35,000 kids, and the database included satellite imagery and biometric data on the 35,000 kids. And
well, I was going to get to that with my question about the videos and the weapons. And it comes back to that Russian theater, which I know Sasha follows a lot and everything. But there was a terrifying video showing a mysterious new sonic weapon deployed against a crowd of protesters, because surprisingly, there can be protests in some parts of the Russian theater. And apparently there was a protest against the Serbian leader that drew over 100,000 in the biggest crowd yet. And protesters flooded Belgrade in one of the biggest anti-government rallies. But they are saying that Serbia authorities used a sonic weapon. And I was just wondering, because I'm not a military person, what would a sonic weapon be and how would it work? Because it sounds like this video is showing that it was very detrimental and all along those lines, and maybe it's something that Ukraine will wind up using against Russia. So exactly what is a sonic weapon and how does it work?
Well, it hurts your head, it hurts your ears, it probably makes you throw up and poop your pants.
That sounds, I just don't understand why we have to always go into war over things. I wish, you can wish all you want, I guess, all day, but it just seems to me that a few old men in this world seem to be controlling everything that's happening to us. And I think it would just be nice if everybody put their weapons down, but you can't trust Putin to do any kind of peace treaty. Anytime he says ceasefire, he ends up going after you, blowing you up. You can't trust Elon or Trump for anything they say they're going to do. I mean, it's really sad. This world is in a sad state.
It is sad, but Kim, I can't give you the break with man being the only one causing problems, because apparently there was a Greek woman that was given 3 life sentences for killing her 3 daughters in Greece in a case that rocks that country. So it was a modern day Greek Medea where Pespico got life for killing her 3 daughters. I don't know what was going on with her and her 3 daughters, but apparently she received 2 additional life sentences for killing her 2 daughters in a case that gripped that part of the world. So there could be some mad women out there as well. Not saying that men don't do the majority of the damage, but there can be some women out there that are kind of crazy historically even as well.
So,
question for Sasha. So Tesla hit an all-time high, I don't know, a year ago, $480 a share. Today it lost another almost $13. It's down to $225 a share, which is about 47% of what it used to be worth. Tesla execs and insiders in the last couple of weeks have sold off $100 million worth of their shares. Would you ever buy stock in Tesla?
Yes, it has a support of about $168. If it will break down this support level, the next support is about $55 a share. Maybe at $55 a share, it represents a reasonable buy. I wouldn't rush, but for my money.
Can you explain support levels? Are they psychological levels where people...
No, it's all in charts. You see, there is a kind of stock fluctuation. Okay, going a little bit higher, then retracts lower, but to somewhat a higher level than it started its extent. So then it will go, you'll make another high, go to another low, but that low is slightly higher than previous low. So you create a channel with resistance level and support level. Now, once the chart is in play, and so fluctuates, it is going back and forth, but it always makes slightly higher level and slightly higher lows as well. So you see uptrend, and you wait until this uptrend will culminate with whether it will go through the channel on the way up. It means it broke through resistance, and it could go to much higher level. Now, if it break down the lower line of resistance, of support, then it has to find a new support. So then you go back in chart, not 3 months or even 6 months, but let's say a year chart, and you find where is the low was at that time. You find that low, then you make a line between that new low, recent low, and the 1 year low, or so on, and you create a level of support. So now you know that level of support right now at the present is 168.
But is all this stuff, this chart stuff, is it all kind of based on how big groups of people think that if it breaks through 168, then everybody freaks out and they don't decide to start buying again until 55? Is it based on mass psychology, or don't we even need to figure out what
involved? It's not as simple. You see, what's happened is that when people, even professionals, when they're buying stock, let's see Tesla, $200. Okay, you buy stock at $200. So you want to let it ride to 300, 400 if possible, so on. You'll be happy. Now you want to limit your loss. The classical rule of thumb is 7%. So you can allow yourself to lose, say, $14, which is 7%, okay, from 200. So if it goes to 186, you have to get out of the stock, because it will go potentially much lower than that. So you want to limit your losses. You want to let your winners ride, and you want to limit your losses. So 7%, you are out. Now, so a lot of people who are buying stock, it doesn't matter what price, say $250, $300, even $400, they're putting stop loss. Now at $400, your stop loss is $28. Make it 30. So if you're going down to $370, you lost $30, which is about 7% from what you started. Out. Don't even think about, stock may recover it, is this or that. Just get out, and then start to think whether the stock may go even lower, or maybe it will recover, whatever. But before you start thinking, you immediately sell. Just sell, and then start your thinking.
Hey, Sasha, along those same lines, and I want to bring this up because it's something that Kim has talked about a number of times as well. What do you think about stock in certain sectors? Because it seems like lately our airline sector is not doing that well. I just saw that there was a plane from Honduras that crashed, and I remember watching, ironically, a late night talk show yesterday that was a rerun, and they were talking about that plane that crashed and landed upside down, ironically, in Canada. I think that was last month and everything like that. So would you even invest in the plane stock at this particular time? Because every time I turn around, and I know that this is something Kim's talked about, even though she just recently came from a trip, it seems like the planes are falling out of the sky. So would you even invest in a plane stock or an airline company at all? Because it seems like they're constantly having troubles. There's at least 12 dead after this latest crash that involved a Honduras plane.
No, you don't touch airline stocks, because it's a very risky business. There are a lot of regulations, a lot of possible lawsuits from passengers, from regulators, from just whoever, or maybe just another airline will sue you for this or that. So this is nothing. I wouldn't touch. I never own airline stocks. The best airline stock, if you want to really buy something, it's Air Canada, because it has monopoly. Virtual monopoly. There are a few other companies, but Canada is by far the largest. It's supported by Canadian government. So at least there you have, even then you're not going to make a killing on Air Canada stock, but at least you're not going to lose a lot of money.
Would you buy any stock in a retail organization or a restaurant? I just see the Denny's, which is, I don't know, it's like Tim Hortons kind of for America, is closing 150 stores.
And Walgreens did something similar.
I just think it's a terrible time for retail. People stay home. They do all their business at home.
They have to. They have to, because with this economy under Trump and Musk, there will be horrendous times ahead of us. It's layoffs is just nothing to look for.
It's going to be really bad, because every time you in a mass firing, the formula is when for every person you fire or lay off, you impact 7 more jobs.
Yeah.
That's been a formula for very long in the circulation of economy. So when you take a middle class income out, and I'm not saying small layoffs, you know, that they still hurt, but I'm talking mass, like what they're doing, the massive. You're going to kill 7 jobs with it, and people don't understand that. They go, "Oh, we're saving money." No, the impact and cost of what is happening right now is going to be horrible. We won't recover from this in my lifetime. We won't.
Speaking of saving money and everything, it looks like we have reclaimed, and I know this is something we've done in past administrations, a aircraft, speaking of aircraft, from another government, because apparently the U.S. Justice Department on Tuesday filed a civil forfeiture complaint regarding an aircraft. It says it had been smuggled from the United States and operated for the benefit of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in violation of the sanctions that had been imposed. So I guess that we have reclaimed this plane, and all along those lines, or at least we're in the process of trying to reclaim the plane that I guess he went and kidnapped and was using and everything, because it says the Dassault Falcon 900EX aircraft was seized last year in the Dominican Republic, according to a statement from the U.S. Justice Department. So hey, there might be a plane for you, Kim. Maybe there's a plane that you can actually get and use for Pod TV to get around, because it might be up for sale. Because I know sometimes when we seize things, whether it's drug lords or other things, they then put them up for auction. So maybe
I'm not taking anything from a drug lord. I'm sorry. It might be mistaken later and somebody might forget. And so no, you couldn't paint it enough colors because it's probably got a tracker in it.
Just before I leave, tomorrow I have an investment show at 1 o'clock. I will tell more about that, but because we are talking about investments.
Well, you know, Southwest Airlines has always been a good company and a good company to invest in. And through all of these times and changes, they have stood true to everything. But my last trip, I heard a rumor that they're going to shake up the airlines really bad, the Southwest Airlines, and the way they do business, and they're going to just change everything. And I just don't think people are going to want to travel with them anymore, because the reason why everyone loves to travel with them is they're so organized. You're not paying for a la carte, and people behave themselves most of the time on Southwest Airlines. I'm going to miss what they had. I don't think it's going to get better if they're going to pattern themselves like the other airlines.
I think there's a long-term trend against air travel that air travel has a bigger carbon footprint than cars.
Yeah.
And people are going to get pissed that it's going to be an elitist thing. And I just think that the thinking around, so when we were kids, air travel was fancy.
Right.
Then it got deregulated. People dressed up. They put on a coat and tie to take a plane trip.
Speaking of regulations,
hold on. It got deregulated under Carter, and it became very unfancy, where the person next to you might have their bare feet up on the chair in front of them. And I think in the next 15 years, people will resent air travel, with its extreme environmental costs. And so
Rick, speaking of deregulations, apparently Mexico City, we know Mexico City has had some other issues as well, but they just came up with some interesting news. Today, their local Congress passed a measure aimed, are you ready for this, Rick, to make bullfights much less harmful to the bulls and the matadors. So apparently the animal rights activists are very happy about this, because, this is a kind of sport that has oftentimes been hurtful both to the participant as well as to the bulls. But apparently the measures, among other things, will not allow bullfighters to use spades and swords to attack the animal, which in turn will have its horns covered to prevent injuries to the human. So apparently they're trying to make it.
That seems reasonable to me. I mean, because in a traditional bullfight, the bull ends up first tortured, stabbed a bunch of times, and then dead eventually. And if you can preserve the sport. I mean, football is harder for me to watch, knowing that every spectacular play where a guy flips in the air, he avoids a tackle, then he jumps over something, and he tumbles into the, knowing that on that play that a couple people, contributed to their future, brain damage. And I think, when you look at what football players wear now compared to what they wore 50 years ago, it's a lot more padding. Does it make football suckier? And there are new rules, that mostly, there aren't touchbacks. You just, the ball goes in the end zone, you start on the 30. All that, the game is, and football itself was started by Teddy Roosevelt, said too many people are dying, and so you need to redesign the game. That was 120 years ago. So, stuff changes because we get more knowledgeable and less savage.
Right. So we should, the spaceship should have landed. I'm watching, but they lost.
Has it landed on Earth yet, or is it
No,
still
it's
up
autonomous now. Has it landed? Because I'm in the Space Center with some people, like virtually, and
Right.
they lost communications with them about 6 minutes ago.
Right, because when you on re-entry, when it gets really hot, then you can't.
Yeah, they burned out. Yeah, they burned out the communications. But in the center, there's I'm watching these people there, and so far I haven't seen I haven't seen any splashdown.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, it hasn't splashed down yet. Speaking of Mexico, as I was talking about them, apparently their president is tightening up on the cartel.
Okay, it's in the sky. It's in the sky. I'll pull it up. Uh-oh, it's about to land. It's about to land.
Yep, the ship is about to land.
All right.
Has you pulled it up yet?
So the two parachutes belong to two of the seats.
Nice.
Okay.
All right.
Very excited.
So the two parachutes belong to two of the seats, and they deployed those to slow it down. So those were two passenger chutes.
Okay, it doesn't look like it's coming down that fast. That's
main
good.
deployment of the parachutes.
No,
the mains are quite a bit larger. You'll be able to notice the difference on your screen once they deploy, and they continue to ensure that the Dragon spacecraft slows down even further. As we mentioned, Freedom will be traveling 16 miles per hour when it splashes down off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida, here at 2:57 p.m. Pacific time this afternoon. And there we go.
We have visual on 4 healthy mains.
Nice.
So they landed safely. That's good and everything. That's wonderful. Speaking
They
of other
haven't
things,
landed yet.
Oh, they haven't landed.
They haven't landed yet.
That's where the parachutes are located. So we see a great
The
view
chutes
there
opened
of
up like they
everything
were
on those
supposed
parachutes.
to.
And
Now they got
as
all of them.
those parachutes-
But they
these main
used two
parachutes
of the
begin to
passenger
unfold
chutes
for
as a
local
means to
health
slow it
mains.
down.
Mhm.
And they deployed just like they were supposed to. Now these
awaiting
are to
visuals
bring it
of
down to the water.
splashdown.
In
I
Tallahassee.
start to
Wow.
hear Commander Nick
I'm going to
Hague.
be there
Copy
Friday.
1000.
You're gonna be at
As
Tallahassee
we
on
heard right
Friday.
there, Commander Nick Hague
Well,
will
not
be
in
calling out the
Tallahassee, but
altitude
in
of the Dragon
vicinity.
capsule from here on out. Landing in water is simpler and provides more margin.
What are you doing in Tallahassee?
I'm going to be down
see
there.
those,
Well, actually, no,
those
I'm going to go
parachutes
to Orlando.
continuing
And I'm
To slow
going
the
to
Dragon
help
capsule
Irene
down.
with a protest.
And if you're just joining us, you're looking at
800 meters.
a live view of
Wow.
All right, so we
Crew 9,
got less than a
just minutes
kilometer
away
to
from
go.
splashing down off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida. Splashdown 2 minutes from now at 2:57 p.m. Pacific. We do have 4 healthy mains really doing the job there. Just breathtaking views of a calm, glass-like ocean off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida. Crew 9 just minutes away from splashing down.
This is really such an incredible shot. That
Copy
was
600.
That was a live view from our recovery vessel.
So less than half a mile above the
Megan, which
ground
is
now.
stationed a couple miles away from the splashdown site. We can see the crew there using their restraints as resting places for their arms.
So
They were just in space moments ago.
I
So their
I
arms were able
assume
to
they're going
float
to take
freely.
them off in wheelchairs because they've been in space for 9
400
months,
meters.
10 months. I don't know that they can even
we'll have
walk
to
in full
see.
It was a
gravity.
gorgeous
You think that
bluebird
they'll
day
take them in a
where we
wheelchair
had
in order to
for
get them
the
off to the?
splashdown of
I don't know. I
Crew
don't know
9.
how they'll
incredible
deal
to
They
with
said that
think
they're
full
going to
that
have to
gravity.
the
do,
Dragon
like
capsule
submarines.
just
They're going to
minutes
have to
ago
do
was
some
going over
some
17,000
decompressing for them and
Decompressing,
things like
miles
yeah, I did
that.
know
per
that they did
hour,
that.
and now gently coasting
Because
to
they've
a
been in
soft
space
splashdown.
200.
very long. You know, this was supposed to be an 8-day
Copy.
journey.
200 meters. Brace
Yeah.
for splashdown.
Their original quest was 8 days,
Yeah.
How long did it wind up being?
and
They,
Nine-
they
As
were
you
there
can see
for
nine-
more than
They're
200
on your
days.
screen, continuing to
Close to
monitor
300
progress
days.
of
they
the Dragon
took off
spacecraft,
the
and we're
September
going to stand by
28th.
for
They took
splashdown
off.
located in the Gulf
It
of
was supposed to
America,
last 8
off the
days.
coast of Tallahassee, Florida.
It was a SpaceX mission to go up and test for commercial
And
use.
splashdown. Crew 9
They were
back
going
on
to go
Earth.
up and, just test out some things. Bravo! Woo!
Well, good. Well, that's some good news and everything.
Now that's a painting I want.
And
That's
Yeah.
a painting I want. Isn't that
good
beautiful?
main release.
Yep.
Copy splashdown.
I hope
VC
they
main
get
chute
those
cut.
out of the water.
Nick, Alex, Butch,
So it
Sunny,
looks
on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
so is
Wow. So
who's-
that was
who's-
SpaceX
who's-
Crew 9
Who's
that
shooting this? Is there a
deployed
ship right
It's,
there? Is
uh,
it-
Yeah.
it's an amazing what a ride.
for an
It's
8-day
a capsule
tour
full of grins ear to ear.
to test space for commercial use. For in the future, it was going to be for Elon to send people up there. And one of the ships malfunctioned and they could not return home.
Yeah.
And it
I think
has
that
taken
was
us
the-
this
as you
long
can
to
see
get
on your
them home.
screen, we have visual confirmation
came under
of
with one in the actual
splashdown.
So I think it
everything.
was
Freedom has
Elon's
returned home, and NASA
responsibility to bring them
astronauts-
home to
System
begin with.
Certifications are in
No,
progress.
it's definitely
We'll
Elon's
report back when
responsibility.
recovery
There you go.
personnel are en route.
What is your
But
thoughts
they
about
try
what
to blame it on Biden. I can't believe it, Watchman.
I think it was
Look
a
at that.
Boeing.
Isn't that
We're in section 2 of
I think it was a Boeing
landing response.
return craft that they
Yeah.
lost confidence
Looking for
in.
your word
I mean,
is necessary.
but,
Do you think there's a drone?
Elon
that's
has been
shooting
under
this?
investigation
Recovery vessel
for
making its way.
cutting
Copy, you're
corners,
in
not
section 2
following
for the environmental
regulations, and he
assessment
fired
in
that
4.800.
department.
That
And
is
to
not
me, this
necessary
is the
today.
reason why you have malfunctions of ships like this. Is if you're not abiding by regulations, you're going to cause
So we will
catastrophe.
continue to have communications between the Corps and Nick Hague, the commander of Crew Dragon
Yep.
Freedom, which just
Definitely will
splashed
have
down
to.
2
It's
minutes
nice
ago
to
off the
see
coast
that
of
they
Tallahassee,
They
Florida.
finally came
Dragon
home.
Freedom has returned home
Yep.
with NASA
They definitely
astronauts
came
Nick
home. That's a
Hague,
great
Sunny
thing.
Williams, Butch Wilmore, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbunov. They're back on Earth after approximately 17 hours of a return journey from space.
Quite
The
a
SpaceX
movie.
recovery ship and
Yeah.
team have been waiting for Dragon's splashdown, and they will now make their way to the splashdown location.
So I
The
guess
teams
that's a
have been
drone
ready
that's
and
giving
waiting
us
about
this
3
shot,
nautical
right?
miles away, so it's going to take them about 30
Well,
minutes
there's
or so
also
to make their way
Elon
to.
put a ship in the ocean to go retrieve them. So
Yeah, but the ship's not
gonna
there
be-
yet,
Copy,
so that
Table
has to
1.
be a drone that's floating or
Do the same.
flying around.
It's going to take about
Yeah.
30 minutes for the
Right.
recovery team to make their way over to Nick, Sunny, Butch, and Alexander.
Well, they said
who
about
are
30 minutes
still
till the
seated
All right, here's
you can
the
get there.
here's the dumb joke I made on Twitter that about I said looking forward to the brave astronauts to return from space finally and set up their OnlyFans pages.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I did see that was a joke that
Yeah,
I think Stephen
and you know
Colbert made.
what's weird is, go ahead.
Wait,
I was just gonna say,
Colbert
Stephen
made
I just
Colbert
I
made a
keep
joke
hearing
about the
Gilligan's
OnlyFans
song
for
when I
Smokey
think
the Bear.
about this.
Oh.
Yeah, I keep thinking of Gilligan's song
Yeah,
because
no, that's a
they
good-
went
that's
up
a good
there
point.
for an 8-day tour. They got castaway for a very long time. Nobody came to rescue them. But people were talking with them, but several attempts failed. I mean, it just reminded me of Gilligan's Island.
There was another show that was on, I think, HBO for 2 seasons that was basically Gilligan's Island in space. That a spacecraft got marooned up there, and what was supposed to be like a 6-month or 3-month cruise now is like 5 years, if ever they can return. But I think they got canceled before they could finish their adventure.
Yeah,
Well, you don't need a TV show when you got real life going on.
you got
but-
real life dramas, and actually the Mexican president was talking about some real life dramas because she found a mass grave that is having to do with the cartels, and she's talking about things that she's going to do to help enforce against that kind of violence going on and everything like that. But she was making that announcement earlier today after they found that very sad situation there in Mexico. But she said that she was going to try to be tougher against the cartel.
What very sad situation. Those 9 students.
No, this wasn't the 9 students. This was thousands of bodies that were found earlier, I think today or recently. That the
They had the mass grave of 56, and then
Right.
they found the ranch.
Right.
There are over 120,000 people missing from Mexico. 120,000
and that's what she was talking about.
missing
Right?
people. Whether it is because of the cartel or just other things. They said that they just quit looking for them. Like
Well,
there's just right.
And
I mean,
that's what
there's
she said. She was going to be tougher about it. She wasn't going to be like the past government. She was going to be a little bit more
right.
diligent.
They
Is
said that
what the word I was
the ranch that they discovered was so gruesome, and they got people there bringing them, and now identifying parts of the body, clothing based on
Right.
like whenever somebody does a missing person's report, and they're isolating that. But it's
very
horrible
sad.
because somebody could have gotten control over the situation
Oh, yeah.
before it got
Somebody-
out of hand.
Somebody
Right.
definitely
I got to go get ready for tonight. Mark, I'll see you in
Have
5
fun
hours.
tonight. I'm
About
going to
5
try
hours.
to watch you guys on Naked at Night, folks.
Next
Let's
night
watch
is about
Naked at
5
Night.
o'clock. 5
You know what
hours.
I'm going to try to do, if it's okay with you? I've got access now where I can run things through TikTok, and I'm going to run your show through TikTok.
All right. You can also call in or join
I
us.
will.
Okay.
I'm gonna. I got a little bit of time tonight, so I'm going to
Yeah,
go.
but
What time are
you
you
know,
doing
we-
this, Ken?
We started at around 11:45, I believe, or something like that.
Because otherwise, the reason we do it so late is so that's the only time the freeway isn't.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah,
It's-
All right.
busy and everything.
All right. Thank
And
you.
have
I'll
a good
see you
evening.
tonight.
Thank you for joining us. We
Get
look
ready to
forward-
wrap up. Just the only thing I was going to say lastly is apparently there's some elections, since we are world politics, that are coming up at the end of April. So I know that Sasha loves going to Aruba, but Trinidad and Tobago will be holding their elections on April 28th as we get ready to get out of here, and other folks will be having other shows
Well,
coming up,
also
including
take
Mama
a look at all of the notices right now before you travel internationally. A lot of the countries are starting to do travel bans, especially with Americans.
Yes.
So whether you can go into that country or out of that country, just check everything before you book your trip. And if your trip's already booked, please confirm it before you go.
That makes sense. Confirm those trips before you go.
Uncertain times.
Very uncertain times, and we'll have another World Politics edition on Thursday
Thursday
at 5 o'clock. As Sasha said, we'll have Modern Investment at 1 o'clock, as well as the online dinner party tomorrow, as well at 4 o'clock. So we've got a lot of great programming, including some new programming. That's right now that Stella was on recently. We have Doing Justice Brings Joy, which airs on Friday at noon. So that is a Friday at noon program that we have regularly. And then coming up very shortly, I think it'll start airing either this weekend or next weekend. We're going to have From Rags to the Runway, which will be a fashion-like show and everything. So we've got a number of new shows coming up, including a show that might be another Naked at Night type show that Kim was telling me about that we're working on getting as well. So there is new programming constantly on Pod TV. So keep your various social media outlets and other outlets locked in to Pod TV with all the great programming, both old and established programs such as The Chess Show and other shows, as well as new programming coming on a regular basis. And don't forget that QR code that we love hearing comments We didn't hear anything on this particular episode, but even at Naked at Night, we love hearing comments and people's reactions to the various hosts and the various conversations. So on that note, Kim, we're going to hit this black button and get on out of here and everything. And I know that Mama Nona is going on and everything, and she's talking about education and history. So we have a history show as well. So let's get on out of here, and we'll catch you later on.
Stay healthy so you stay wealthy. We'll see you soon. Thank you for watching.
Bye.